Welcome aboard to podcast number 16 in the series of the Voyage to Back Yonder. You know, life is certainly an adventure. And as I began to gather notes for this podcast, I was urged to share how the content of this episode kind of came together. And I feel that the reason I'm to tell you about all this is just to bring awareness around the fact that there are always messages all around us pointing us to our highest experience here. And if we can quiet ourselves and be open to these things and look for them, we will see them and we'll find them. So to kind of start, we've been very busy at work in the position that I'm currently in at my job, but suddenly we had some capacity where I could comfortably take off a couple of Fridays. I work like 4 hours on Fridays, so I decided to take yesterday off. And once I cleared it with my boss and updated my time card on Thursday, my mom reached out to me and asked me when I was going to be getting off work on Friday. Well, now, isn't that convenient? And so she asked if I would like to go with her out to visit my brother and his family. So we made plans to do so. Now, in May of last year, I was relocated to be near my family. And I say I was relocated because it seemed like I was ushered here without being involved much in the decision. And if you want to hear more about that part of the story, listen to the first episodes of this podcast series, because I go into all that. What a trip it was. But it was all part of the message I had received in 2018 that, that whole year, last year, was going to be a year of integration for me, bringing that unconditional love and the awareness of that love energy deeper into my daily life to integrate it. So Friday morning came, and as most of us do, I checked my email. And I do love feeling that accomplishment of deleting most of the content of my emails. You're already getting things done first thing in the morning. But there within my emails, there was a communication from an amazing musician. It's Estas Tonne, I believe is how his name is said. And it was announcing his tour dates in Europe for his musical tour called Integration. Well then, so I clicked on the link to go to his website, and there was a song that jumped out to me on there called Roots, the Return to the Inner Temple. And the messages and the lyrics that are mentioned in that song just flow so well with my journey that I'm on, and the message of this whole podcast series, The Voyage to Back Yonder. It's the return to the inner temple. So that was the first thing that came across my path, and then came the second. Each morning lately, I've been going over a daily reading, which includes a small book by another great soul on this planet. His name's Hawkeye, and he has a monthly little book that you can order. It's Hawaiian. It's called, I think it's Mana'o, which for yesterday was focused on the concept of two opposing forces within us, which totally relates to the fear ego and the divine self, that both exist within us. So again, that fits into the core of this whole voyage and also my focus of 2019, the whole 2019 focus on the divine. I also will normally take a look at a book each morning by Oprah that she created based on her Super Soul Sundays, which is entitled The Wisdom of Sundays. So I just opened the book because it's just a bunch of small, pieces from that kind of her aha moments that stood out. And this particular one, I opened it up, and the 2 pages side by side also spoke of the divine within us, walking the earth and following our bliss. expressing our true selves. So, wow, okay, I got the message. So later I went to pick up my mom, and on our drive out to my brother's, we chatted, and I brought up how convenient it was that I had asked for time off and shared the confirmations I had that morning, with all those little messages. And she also shared that the same thing had been happening to her all week. And hers was all about words that come out of our mouths. So it's just amazing, all these confirmations that we're individually getting if we are paying attention. Now, FYI, this morning's subject of the Timber Hawkeye's book, the daily reading for Saturday, was about words. So another confirmation for my mom, but also her telling me all about it was confirmation for me. So we'll chat about that briefly as well in a moment. So we arrived at my brother's, and we all said our hellos, and my brother had wanted to tell me about an experience one of his friends had that he just found out about in a conversation with him not too long ago. He was a veteran, so this veteran, he had been in several tours of Vietnam, and in his last tour, he was badly injured. He was brought back to the United States unconscious, and he woke up in a hospital. He had been badly injured. And at one point, he actually died momentarily. And what he told my brother is he went somewhere else for a bit and had an interaction with like another entity or an angel or, someone from the other side. But, he asked him, "Are you ready to come home?" And he was like, "Well, no." He wanted to show his mom that his hands were working because he had been badly burned and he was not feeling pain anymore. And as soon as he said that, he was pulled back to earth, and they were able to revive him. But before he went back into his body, he was floating above his body, like in the ceiling, looking down at them, trying to resuscitate him. And he noticed his head was in a weird, awkward position, and it felt okay. And he noticed that a male nurse repositioned it, and it didn't feel as comfortable. And then, of course, they revived him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be talking to my brother, hopefully. Well, a couple weeks after that, in a conversation with one of the nurses that was aiding him, the nurse mentioned that they didn't think he was going to make it, and that he was still going to be around with them. And when he asked the nurse what he meant, he shared that, well, your heart stopped for a moment, but we were able to, resuscitate you. And so then the veteran, of course, shared his story with the information I just told you. And the nurse was shocked because he was the one that had adjusted his head. So he said, "How could you have known that? You were unconscious." Wow. So I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard something like that. I've read so many stories of people who have died and came back, who have shared, those same type of experiences of seeing their body from the outside. Over the last couple of weeks, my family and my friends have had so many loved ones who have turned in their rental car body and returned home to back yonder. This voyage to back yonder that we're on right now provides us situations that are designed to wake us up from our involvement in this game. It's designed to wake us up so that we can realize that we are not this ship, this vehicle. We're the observer standing on the deck as we move through this life, seeing what we see, experiencing what we experience. We are two beings, two forces that are existing together right now. One that is eternal, supernatural, powerful, made from unconditional love. And the other one that is made of particles, a vehicle designed to take us through this adventure down here because we wanted to come here. And as we realize this, we can start to feel the difference, the separation between the two. Which brings me to the subject of our words. You know, the words we speak out loud and the words we speak to ourselves, they tell us a lot about how we feel about ourselves. And they're also a great way to more clearly see the contrast between the two forces that are swirling inside us. If those words are words of unconditional love, then that is your higher self. And if they're words of worthlessness, disappointment, anger, sadness, depression, those are from the fear ego, rooted in conditional love. So if a word that you hear from someone else offends you, then the reaction is from our fear ego. You know, we are the ones who give words power. So if we're offended by a word, it's because we were taught or conditioned to be offended by it. We don't have to be offended because others are not offended by the word. So it's not for everyone. It's everyone's choice. And freedom comes when we discover that once we redefine what the use of that word means to us, we get to be free. We get to decide what it means to us and no one else. So as we dig into understanding that there are two sources of emotions inside of us, we become very aware of our power to choose. We get the power over our lives back. We never lost that power, actually. We just pretended that others had control over how we feel. But that power resides solely inside us. Until next episode, take some time to hear the words that come out of your mouth or type out of your fingers into social media. Uh-oh. What are they telling you? What are they telling you about how you feel, about your worth, about who you are? Are the words from a place of unconditional love or a place of judgment and conditions? Maybe listen to what you hear coming out of other people's mouths or what they're typing on social media. When you take the time to stand back and look at that, what do you observe from that? Do you see the love they have for themselves? Or do you see the fear that they have of losing love, of believing that they're worth less? You know, it's amazing when the observer in us becomes aware of itself. It's amazing because we're waking up. Enjoy your voyage. I love you.